This is how to build a growth team for your startup in 2026. I'm Philip Ruffini, and I used to be head of growth at Rupa Health. I used to manage a $7 million a year budget, 12 US employees, and over 20 overseas contractors on our marketing and growth team. I get asked for advice all the time on how you should build an effective growth or marketing team. These are all the things I wish I knew when I was starting. The first thing to keep in mind in 2026 is that everything pre-2020 is just out the window. The way marketing teams were built in 2010, 2015, and 2020 just don't really work anymore because marketing is changing so fast every year. For the longest time, channels didn't really evolve and all companies used very similar channels. But now the channels that work and the channels that come out new are literally every month and is probably changing at the fastest rate ever. The number one mistake that I see people make is they're like, oh, I need to go do ads, so I need to go hire a full-time ads person. That's not really what you want to do. So let's break down what you should do. First, I want to address what the difference is between growth and marketing. One, I think these are all just made up terms. At the core, the goal of this team, regardless of what you call it, is to make the company money, get new users, get new customers. Doesn't matter if it's called growth, doesn't matter if it's called marketing. But if we want to be a bit more technical, the way I think about it is growth generally incorporates product, marketing, and data, UX, UI. It's more all-encompassing, where marketing really just focuses on kind of top of funnel, getting more people in the door, nothing after that. Whereas when I think of growth, you're basically identifying your customer and taking them all the way through the funnel. The key with growth is you want to identify who your target customer profile is, what is their pain point, and then solution. Doing really good growth is the exact same as doing really good product. You ultimately want to figure out where your customers live, what are their problems, and how you can communicate effectively your solution for those problems. And that is generally why I kind of just want to kill marketing teams in 2026 and just want everything called growth teams. I think when people have the growth team cap on, they tend to move faster, they tend to iterate faster, where marketing people are more like, oh, we have this launch, so we need to create this plan and do these steps and this step, and no. We just want to move really fast and just try a ton of things and figure out what works as quickly as humanly possible. And that's because marketing is changing so fast today. What works right now is not going to work in 6 months because people are going to tell everyone about it and then it's going to get communicated. And the key to be really good at growth is to find alpha. Find what no one else is doing and exploit that alpha in that channel for as long as possible as no one else is doing it. Now, let's go back to actually building your team. I'm going to assume your startup is sub $5 million in revenue if you're building this team, because if you're over $5 million in revenue, you probably already kind of have a team in place. And something that I want to drive home for you is I'm going to assume that this is your company or you are the first hire within this company. Don't look for other people to solve your problems. If you are the founder of your business, you're going to have to drive all growth, and you cannot solve your problems by hiring right away. I get hit up a lot to be head of growth or the first growth hire for different companies, and 90% of the time, it's somebody who can't figure it out and they want to hire away their problems. As the founder, you need to be the person that figures out that first growth channel. And some of the best advice that was definitely popularized by Alex Hormozi is that to get to $1 million a year in revenue, you only need one channel and you only need one avatar. So what that means is you only need one customer persona, say moms who use Facebook that are over the age of 50, and that channel being Facebook groups. You can get a business to $1 million a year in revenue by just going and engaging in local moms' Facebook groups with them. You can get to $1 million a year in revenue with just ads. For my business, Hire Overseas, we were able to get to $1 million a year in revenue just based off word of mouth and referrals. So there's lots of different ways to get to $1 million in revenue. And your number one goal while figuring out how to build this team is to figure out what that channel is for success. And once you figure out what channel is working, you want to hire someone to take over that channel for you. So let's say Facebook groups was the first channel that worked. Once you get that going, you want to hire a contractor or a full-time employee to come and do that work for you while you go figure out the next channel, or you now work with that person to focus more on high-level strategy on how they could do their work better. And that's how I think about building marketing and growth teams today. Figure out the channel that works, hire someone to take it over, go figure out the next one, and continue to expand your team as you either want to focus more on channels or expand to new channels. So for example, with Hire Overseas, we found out that SEO did a really good job. So we had one SEO contractor. Now we have a 5-person SEO team just working on SEO. I still ultimately act as our head of growth as the CEO, and that's how it should be for a fairly long time. Because the best growth and marketing people are going to want to be compensated well, and it's going to be really hard to find someone really good to take over and run that entire team and figure it out for you. Most of the best growth/marketing people are all running their own businesses because this is just a formula you can continue to replicate for different services or business ideas. And that's why I suggest when you're thinking about growing your growth or marketing team, don't really hire someone until you figure out what works, because you're not going to be able to just hire away your problems on figuring out growth or marketing. And ultimately, at the same time, you want to learn how to do it anyway, so you can tell what exceptional looks like when you eventually hire someone. And if you're looking for your ideal first growth or marketing hire, usually what I tell people is you want someone who is a hustler, a generalist, learns fast, and they have a proven track record. So usually what I look like is that they were able to make money on their own, flipping things on eBay, StockX, whatever the platform was, or that they are able to create viral content. They have a piece of social media content that's at least gotten 100,000 views, because anyone that can do those two things are really, really good at iterating. And when you're hiring someone to do growth or marketing, you want people who are really good at iterating, because it evolves so fast. They have to be really good at learning and learning what the new things are and what's working. And that's one of the reasons why I rely so heavily on contractors, because a lot of these channels you figure out, you don't necessarily need a full-time US hire to work on that channel. For example, the Facebook groups, you can hire an overseas contractor to take that work over for you. And when I think about building my marketing or growth team, I think about hiring local people, particularly in the US, to do strategy, and then hiring overseas contractors to actually do that execution work, engaging on Reddit, engaging in Facebook groups, monitoring ads platforms for me. And that is how I think you should build a marketing team today. High-level strategists based in the US, and then contractors actually doing the executables. Because you just don't need a full-time American doing video editing or graphic design. You can hire them at a place like hireoverseas.com. And when you figure those things out, you generally scale your team over time. And I highly, highly, highly suggest trying to rely on AI to implement as much or as many automated processes as possible. And basically, as you're building this marketing and growth team, you should be testing those channels and then hiring people over time. The only thing I should say when you don't do it is if you can hire someone who's really, really good at testing and figure out those channels. For example, the company I used to work at, Rupa Health, the first growth hire was this guy, Kobe Conrad. Kobe is extremely good at figuring out channels. And he ultimately became the original head of growth of Rupa Health. He figured out the channels and then would hire someone to do it. I was essentially the second hire who could also figure out and iterate those channels. Everyone else was put in place to kind of scale existing channels Kobe has already figured out and take those over from him. Just what you really don't want to do is say, I need to do X channel, and then go hire someone to figure out that specific channel for you, or it's going to end up in tons of wasted time and money. When you're trying to figure out initial channels, the best way to do it is contractors and agencies, because everything is month to month. It's too much risk to hire a full-time employee to try and figure something out if you haven't already proven that it works to some extent. And I'll end the video with, there is just no really right formula for building a marketing team today. But with that being said, I will say these are some of the marketing channels that I'm really looking forward to in 2026 and think people should be executing on. Those are in real life stunts like Ramp using Kevin from The Office in New York City, using UGC content on short form media platforms to get as many views as possible. Meta ads is now crushing it, according to people like the Ridge CEO. AI search is also huge, and learning the difference between LLM SEO strategy versus traditional SEO strategy and getting ranked in LLMs, probably one of the most important things right now. And then the last is conferences. One of my friends is just absolutely crushing it by paying to speak at conferences and then paying to have the best companies host dinner with him. So if you're building a marketing team in 2026, I hope this video was helpful.